Welcome back to Football Daily, where today we're running through 10 clubs which are actually owned by countries. Let's go. 10. PSG. The most predictable entry on our list is at 10. Paris Saint-Germain had won just 2 titles in their 40-year history before they were purchased by the Qatar Investment Authority in 2011. The authority paid around €80 million to acquire 100% of PSG's shares, and had to stump up around $39 million just to cover the club's debts and financial losses from the previous season. PSG's value has multiplied 8-fold in the years since, and in 2017 they had the 7th highest revenue in world football, ahead of Arsenal, Liverpool and Juventus. And that's no wonder, given that their parent company is owned by the Emir of Qatar himself, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, whose net worth is estimated at around $2 billion. His role as the ruler of Qatar means that he can simply hand Les Parisiens huge commercial contracts to enable their spending, with the Qatar Tourism Authority alone giving the team around €200 million a year. As a result, PSG have spent over €1 billion in transfer fees since the takeover, including a world record $222 million on Neymar. But they're already overdue for their 5-year target, bringing the Champions League trophy to the Parc des Princes. 9. Persepolis. Iranian champions in the last 2 seasons, Persepolis have been around for more than 50 years and are officially the most popular club in Asia. Their stadium holds 78,000 people, around the same as Real Madrid's Santiago Bernabeu, and their rivalry with another Tehran club, Esteghlal, is Iran's version of El Clasico. Reportedly, 10 of the 16 clubs in the Persian Gulf Pro League are state-owned, and Persepolis are no exception, with the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports having control of the team. However, the lack of money from investors means that Persepolis have been in debt for years, despite producing several high-profile players like Ali Karimi and Ali Dyer, who both won the Bundesliga with Bayern Munich. There are advantages to state patronage though, with the government giving Persepolis 2 training grounds for their academy, and even opening restaurants and a university named after the team, which specialises in sports, offering degrees in subjects like match commentary and futsal coaching. 8. Beijing Guoan. With twice the population of Europe, it's high time that China started to leverage its manpower into becoming a major player in football. The Chinese Super League has started to flex its muscles in recent years, and Beijing Guoan have been at the vanguard of the division's growth, hiring former Leverkusen coach Roger Schmidt and making Cedric Bakambu the most expensive African player ever. Guoan have won the league just once in 2009, but are owned by the CITIC Group, an investment company belonging to the Chinese government. And they, like the rest of the league, are benefiting from a new TV deal. China sports media now pay around $188 million a year for the rights to show CSL matches, a huge increase on the $9 million they paid back in 2015. As a result, clubs are able to compete with European sides for top talent, rather than simply picking up old stars like the MLS. That means Guoan have signed not just Bakambu, but also Spanish playmaker Jonathan Vieira, beating Premier League club Swansea to the attacker. China may not overtake Europe's elite anytime soon, but for the continent's smaller sides, it may be time to start worrying. 7 and 6. Barcelona and Real Madrid. No, we're not talking about Barcelona's shady association with the Qatar Foundation, a relationship which saw the club pocket $35 million a year in shirt sponsorship, and Barca legends like Xavi and Pep Guardiola back the nation's World Cup bid. Instead, both Barcelona and Real Madrid, as well as 5 other clubs, were given an unfair advantage by the Spanish government, according to an EU investigation in 2016. Governments within the EU are forbidden from using public money to help clubs, but 4 of the teams involved, including both Clasico sides, were charged the tax rate for charities rather than businesses for more than 20 years. Others, like Valencia and Hercules, who were in danger of going bankrupt, received loans with discounted rates of interest after the government intervened on their behalf. And Real Madrid, who bought land from the state to build a new training ground in 1998, were found to have paid £15 million less than the market value for the property, essentially meaning they could pump that money into their Galactico-filled squad instead of spending it on facilities. In the end, Barcelona, Real, Valencia, Athletic Club, Osasuna, Elche and Hercules were all ordered to pay back money which they had obtained or kept hold of illegally, with Valencia owing the most at around £17 million. But the damage was arguably already done, with the 3 biggest clubs benefiting from the arrangement, winning 18 of the last 20 Spanish titles. 5. CSKA Moscow. The first of two Russian sides now, with CSKA Moscow, the oldest club in the country and one of the most successful, with 13 national titles. CSKA are named the Militarians, having been founded in 1911 as the official football team of the Russian army, while city rivals Dinamo were the club of the police and Spartak were considered the club of the people. Now a professional side, CSKA are still part-owned by the Ministry of Defence, and their success in Europe has been a source of Russian pride, with a Europa League triumph in 2005 and a visit to the Champions League quarter-finals in 2010. However, it is not the army but Roman Abramovich they have to thank for their success, with his oil company Sibneft sponsoring the team until 2006, when they merged with Gazprom and began to back Zenit. As owner of Chelsea, UEFA would not allow Abramovich to actually hold any shares in CSKA, but with 20 of the club's 32 major trophies coming after the year 2000, it's clear that Roman succeeded where the army had failed. 4. Zenit St. Petersburg. CSKA may have the backing of the Russian army, but as we just said, Zenit St. Petersburg is bankrolled by Gazprom, which is the largest natural gas company in the world, and is also majority owned by the Russian government. The club was originally formed by workers at the Leningrad steel factory, but in 2005, Gazprom took a controlling share in the team they had sponsored for the previous 6 years and financed a new stadium, as well as investing over $100 million in the squad. 6 years later, Zenit won the second title in their history and their first in 23 seasons. They have since added another 3 and have not finished outside the top 5 for the duration of Gazprom's time at the helm. Zenit's managers have included Roberto Mancini, Luciano Spalletti and Andre Villas-Boas, and the club has attracted stars like Hulk and Axel Witsel, with 5 of the 6 most expensive players in the history of the Russian Premier League being Zenit purchases. And not content to restrict their influence to their homeland, Gazprom now sponsor Chelsea, Schalke, Red Star and the Champions League, forming a new Russian federation across the European game. 3. Monaco. 2/3 of Monaco's shares are owned by Russian billionaire Dmitry Rybolovlev, who took over when the club was bottom of Ligue 2 in December 2011. By May 2013, they had won promotion to Ligue 1 again, and Rybolovlev financed the costly acquisitions of Radamel Falcao and James Rodriguez to get the side back into the Champions League. But the remaining 33% of the club belongs to the House of Grimaldi, the Monegasque royal family, and they still wear a shirt reportedly inspired by Grace Kelly, the Hollywood actress who married Prince Rainier in 1956. The current Prince, Albert II, has always had an interest in sports, having competed for Monaco in 5 Winter Olympics in the bobsleigh, and he approved Rybolovlev's bid for the club, reasoning that a team whose stadium sits between marinas full of super yachts deserves the glamour of international competition. He has been rewarded with a first championship in 17 years, and Monaco returning to the top of French football, as well as reaching the semi-finals of the Champions League. 2. Talaya El Gaish. We could have gone for almost any Egyptian football club at number 2, with the majority of the teams in the country's top flight representing one arm of the government or another. El Intag Al Harbi are run by the Ministry of War Production, while others are controlled by the Ministry of Petroleum or the police. Talaya El Gaish, however, are the team of the Egyptian military. That might normally just guarantee club support, as in the case of CSKA, but instead, El Gaish abuse their position to force players to join them. In 2011, highly rated midfielder Ayman Hefni was called up for his mandatory military service, but rather than simply taking a break from football while he trained with the army, Hefni was loaned out and then sold to El Gaish, with the armed forces claiming that his 3 years there would constitute national service. This interference from the government meant that in the 2016-17 season, 10 of the Egyptian Premier League's 18 sides actually had no fans, who had turned their attentions to European football or super clubs like Al Ahly and Zamalek instead. In their attempts to kill the opposition, state-owned clubs have killed Egyptian football. 1. Man City. It's taken the might of not just one country, but 3 to put Manchester City at the summit of European football. Before 2007, City was a publicly traded company, meaning that anyone could buy shares, provided they had thousands of pounds and a high pain threshold. But that same year, the club was bought out by Thaksin Shinawatra, the former Prime Minister of Thailand, who paid £80 million to acquire the side after failing with moves for Liverpool and Fulham. Shinawatra had made his money in telecommunications and used his political power to increase his fortune, dodging taxes and laundering nearly $3 billion through foreign bank accounts. That made him unpopular in Thailand, and eventually he was overthrown by the military, but his investment in City proved smart. Though he signed 3 Thai players who never made a single start for the side, Shinawatra also brought stars like Zabaleta and company to the northwest. And after just 14 months as owner, he tripled his money by selling up to the Abu Dhabi United group. That group belongs to Sheikh Mansour, a member of Abu Dhabi's royal family and the Deputy Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates, and now owns 86% of City, while the other 14% is in the hands of the CITIC Group, the same organisation which runs Beijing Guoan. So thanks once again for watching, guys, and if you enjoyed this, why not click on screen right now for another one of our fantastic videos. And as always, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.